you've ever wanted to create a photorealistic portrait, but you've never could get it just right, this is my take on things. I recently finished this project and it is the most photorealistic painting I have been able to do in my whole entire artist career. And while I did it, a few things just clicked for me. I'm gonna tell you what I did start to finish, materials that I used, and tips, and hopefully describe the way that I think about painting in a way that you haven't heard before. Let's get into it. Starting with the canvas that I chose, it is a 24" by 30 Artist Loft level 3, and at the time I bought it for $54.99. I don't know what it's selling for now. You could probably get a coupon for it at like Michael's or something. To get the proportions just right, I did the grid method. If you are watching this video, you've probably also heard of the grid method. It is not a new invention. However, something clicked for me that I never really thought of before. I broke the painting up into 3" boxes. There ended up being 80 in total. It was so many, it was kind of bonkers. Everything was going good with the grid method, especially when the blocks are super boring, like, oh, there's grass right here. Okay, 2/3 of the way up, I'm gonna draw a slightly imperfect line or something, right? Like, not that deep. However, the faces started causing a lot of hiccups. They just didn't look right. Like, you know when you see it, but you don't know what the problem is. You're like, I know it's wrong. I don't know how it's wrong, but it's just wrong. I started drawing from memory. Even though I thought I was doing the grid method, I'll put it like this. Say you're bored and you have a piece of paper and you start doodling on it, and you start doodling an eyeball. You're probably gonna create some sort of ovally looking shape, maybe with a little tear duct, a perfect circle eye, the dot, maybe, you know, fake out a little highlight in it, but you're not drawing because you're looking at an eyeball and putting it on the page. You're just drawing it from memory. That is gonna cause you issues if you are basing your art off of a photo. You need to be looking at the photo. This is what you're gonna do. Turn it upside down. I know that might seem weird. I needed to stop looking at it as faces. That's all it was. Oh, there's just a slant here. That's not a nose, that's just a line. That's not an eye, that's just a little, you know, like suddenly things didn't look familiar. They didn't look like mine and my husband's faces that I stare at all the time. It looked arbitrary, it looked random, and I was able to fix what was going so wrong. So that's tip number 1. Something else I want to add about creating the grid, as far as the canvas goes, it was just a ruler and a pencil and measuring it out. But on Procreate, if you go to the drawing guide, it will set a grid for you, and then you can tell it how big and small you want the squares to be. As I continued this process, I ended up getting everything marked out, and then I toned it. And I toned it with green simply because I was like, I don't know, green seems cool. Green, there's a lot of green in the photo, but now that I think about it, who has like green undertones in their skin? I would maybe recommend, you know, like a lot of people do that orangey hue. Ultimately, I don't think you can tell that I used green underneath, but if I did it again, I think I would just use the regular toning color for the sake of skin tones. The paint that I used is the golden acrylics. Some were the fluid and some were the heavy bodied, I believe is what they're called. I've heard 1000 rave about golden fluid acrylics, and I've used them for a while and love them. And so as soon as I saw the heavy bodied ones, I was like, maybe I'll try that. No, be real. Follow me on Be Real, guys. Use the fluid acrylics. They're incredible, great for mixing. Chef's kiss. The heavy bodied, don't even waste your time. Another thing that clicked for me is what you know versus what you see, and sometimes they're different. So for instance, with our skin tones, I know that my husband and I are Caucasian. We are white. I rarely even have a tan, okay? So in my mind, I'm thinking the only colors that I would want to use are very, very, very light beiges. However, that is not the case when you are in shadow. For instance, look at my hand. That is dark and it's almost ashy in color. Well, I know that my hand in real life is not super, super dark gray or dark brown or ashy looking. Yet in a cool lit setting with cool undertoned skin with a shadow, sure enough, my skin is that color. Same thing with my husband's outfit. His top is a dark navy blue. It is not black or anything close to black in color. Yet, when you get it in shadow, there's not much going on there. So mix the color palette that you see not the color palette that you know. That is something that leveled up my art with mixing what's in the photo, not what's in your head, not what's off of memory. I know I referenced that a little bit earlier. Paint what you see, not what you know. The one unfortunate thing that comes along with the beast of doing a 24 by 30 inch canvas is trying to keep your palette wet for a significant amount of time so that you can get that section done. So this is what I did to keep my palette wet for as long as possible. And it was a DIY Stay Wet palette. The Stay Wet palettes are exactly what they sound like. It is a specific type of palette designed to keep acrylic paint wet for longer. However, I am not the type of girly that's gonna spend extra money on an extra product, even if I could see really great, awesome use for it, especially if it's full price. So I found online how to make a DIY Stay Wet palette. Instead of putting your paints directly on whatever you're using, whether that be a plate, a glass Tupperware, you name it, get a paper towel, run it under some water, line the palette with that, then get a piece of parchment paper or wax paper. I think either could work, but I'm pretty sure I used parchment paper, and layer that over top of the wet paper towel. Press it into the paper towel so it's more of like a homogeneous, you know, chunk of layers you've got going on, and then put your paints on that. I saw a significant time increase in how long I was able to work with my acrylic paint palettes when I did the DIY Stay Wet palette. On top of that, if you want to keep your palette wet even longer, because I'm a mama of a cutie little baby girl and would find myself being able to paint for a little bit and then have to stop, paint for a little bit, have to stop, put your palette in the fridge. Keep it cold. Keep it wet, keep it cold. And so because I did those two things, I was able to stretch a palette for 3 or 4 different painting sessions within maybe the course of a week. And that was absolutely unheard of for me to do that before those two things. At the end of the day, good things do take time. They don't have to take a year and 10 months time. Like I said, I have a cutie little baby girl and she happened right smack dab in the middle of that. But even if there wasn't breaks in between starting and stopping this project, it probably took me start to finish somewhere in the ballpark of 200 hours to complete. I hope I was able to articulate the way that I think when it comes to proportions and coloring and get them just right in a way that maybe you hadn't heard before. If you enjoyed this video and liked how I broke down what I learned throughout the process, I did a ceiling mural in our RV and broke down everything I learned through taking on a project like that, and I'll have that video linked so you can check it out.